There is a particular feeling, and if you have swung a hammer for any number of years, you know it before I finish describing it. You come down on a nail, and the head does not land quite where your hand said it would. There is a small looseness in the middle of the blow, half a beat of play between your arm and the steel. So you stop. You hold the hammer up and you give the head a twist with your fingers, and it moves. Not much, a hair. And a good many folks know exactly what to do next, because their father did it, and his father did it before him. You fill a bucket at the spigot, or you walk out to the trough, and you stand that hammer head down in the water, and you leave it overnight. And in the morning, the head is tight. It truly is. I am not going to stand here and tell you that you imagined it. The handle swelled, the head sits firm. You go back to work, and the whole business is behind you. That is exactly why this trick has lasted 150 years. Now I want to tell you what happened inside that handle while it stood in the bucket. Because it is not what you think, and it is the reason the same hammer will be looser in 3 months than it was on the day you soaked it. And looser again after the next soak, and looser again after that. The water does not fix a loose handle. It buys you about a week, and it charges you the handle to do it. I'm going to show you what actually holds a head onto a handle, which is a thing most folks have never had explained to them, even after 40 years of owning tools. And I'm going to tell you plainly where the line is. The point past which no wedge on this earth will hold it, because you want to know where that line sits before the tool finds it for you. Before we go on, most of us keep a house full of things we half know how to look after. The tools, the table, the pipes, the doors. Folks kept asking me to put the whole of it down in one place, room by room, so I did. It is called The House That Keeps Itself, and the link sits under this video. That is the only time I will mention it. Now let us get to your hammer. I want to be fair to the men who taught us this, because they were not fools, and I will not talk about them as though they were. There was a time when a great many tools lived outdoors. Handles were often made of wood that was never properly dried to begin with. A fellow had a bucket, he had a night, and he had work to do in the morning. And it worked. He saw it work with his own 2 eyes, and so did his boy, standing there watching him. That is the trouble with this one. It pays you back by breakfast, and it sends the bill the following season, and nobody ever connects the 2 things. So the belief got handed down, whole and confident, for 6 generations. Not because anybody lied, because everybody stopped watching too early. Here is what goes on in that bucket. Wood takes on water and swells. That much is true, and everybody knows it. But look at where the swelling has to happen. The top few inches of that handle are inside the steel eye of the hammerhead, locked in. And steel does not give. Not 1/1000th of an inch, not for anything. So the wood wants to grow, and there is nowhere on this earth for it to grow into. And when wood is made to swell inside something that will not move, it does not push the steel out of the way. It crushes itself instead. The little cells collapse against one another, and they do not stand back up afterward. That is a permanent thing. You have seen this happen on your own bench, though you may not have thought about it. Lay a fresh piece of pine down and set a clamp hard on it. Take the clamp off an hour later, and there is a shallow dent in the wood that never comes all the way back. You did not cut anything away. You only crushed it flat. Now that is what the steel eye does to a swollen handle. All the way around, all night long. Then the handle dries, the way everything in a house eventually dries. And dry wood shrinks. Only now it is shrinking down from a crushed and collapsed condition, so it ends up smaller than it was before you ever carried it out to the bucket. Tighter for a week, looser than it started by the end of the month. And you go get the bucket again because it worked last time. That is a wheel a man can turn for years without knowing he is the one turning it. Every soak takes a little more wood out of the joint, not by wearing it away, by flattening it out. There is another charge on this, and it comes due later. The water sat in that eye all night, Now the eye is the one place on the whole tool where steel and wood are locked together, where you cannot see inside, and where nothing dries quickly. It is also where the end grain sits, the thirstiest wood on the entire handle, the part that drinks like a straw and lets go of it slowest. So you get rust on the inside of the eye where no rag will ever reach. And you get the beginnings of rot in the top of the handle. Do that every summer for a few years, and you are growing decay in the exact joint that must never let go, in the one spot on the tool where you cannot look at it. And I will say the plain thing about wet wood while I am at it. It is weaker than dry wood. Not a little. So the handle you just soaked is also the handle you just softened, and you took it out and swung it at something. If this is the first time anybody has explained that to you, a like helps it reach the next fellow standing over a bucket tonight. And if you would like to sit with me again next week, subscribe and you will find your way back. So if it is not swelling, and it is not friction, and it is not a tight fit, then what is holding the head on your hammer right now? A wedge. Go and pick up a hammer or an axe you own and look straight down at the top of the head, at the flat of the handle where it comes up through the steel. You will see the end grain, and driven down through the middle of it, a strip of wood. That is the wooden wedge, and it sits in a saw cut that the maker put into the handle before the head ever went on. Here is what that little strip is doing. The handle comes up through the eye from underneath, and the eye is not a straight hole through the steel. It is wider at the top than it is in the middle. That is done on purpose, and it has been done that way for a very long time. When the wedge is driven down into that saw cut, it spreads the top of the handle sideways, out into the wide part of the eye. And now the head cannot come off. Not because it is gripped, because the top of that handle is fatter than the hole it would have to pass back down through. That is the whole of it. The handle is not clamped, and it is not squeezed. It is spread. What you have on your hammer is a wooden rivet. You will usually find one or two small steel wedges driven in crossways to the wooden one as well. Those spread it in the other direction and take up what the first wedge could not reach. Now hold that picture in your mind and go back to the bucket for a moment. Water tries to make the whole handle bigger everywhere at once, which is the one thing the wood cannot do and the one thing that damages it. A wedge makes the handle bigger in the single place where bigger actually holds. $2 of shaped wood doing what a knight in a trough can never do. Once a man understands that, he does not reach for the bucket again. Not because I told him not to, because it stops making sense to him. So you have a hammer with play in it. Here is how to think about it. And it starts with looking, not fixing. First, find out what is actually moving. Hold the head in one hand and the handle in the other, and work them gently. Is the whole handle turning in the eye? Is it rocking side to side? Or does it feel like the head lifts a little and settles? Then look down at the top of the head. In a good many loose hammers, the wooden wedge has crept back up out of the saw cut over the years. You can see it standing a touch proud of the steel, or you can see a shadow of a gap alongside it. That is your answer right there, and it is the easiest of the lot. If that is what you have, the wedge can be driven back down, and a small steel wedge set in crossways to take up the rest. Support the head solidly on something that will not move. Keep your hand out from under it and drive with sense rather than force. 10 minutes and a packet of wedges costs about 3. Same as a sandwich. If the handle is loose all the way around and the wood looks gray and dry and starved, then the handle has given up its moisture over a great many seasons, and it has shrunk everywhere. You can put a wedge in it and gain a season. I will not pretend that is a repair. That handle is telling you it is near the end. A new handle is not a hard afternoon. A hickory handle runs $10 or $15. The old one comes out, and the Forest Service put out a plain handbook on doing it properly that has been teaching folks for years, and I have put nothing in this video that goes against it. The main thing is patience, a saw cut of the right depth, and a wedge driven home before you call it done. And while the head is off, look inside the eye. That is the only chance you will ever get. If there is rust scale in there, clean it out. If somebody soaked this tool for 20 years, You will find out about it now. Once the handle is sound, a little boiled linseed oil rubbed into the wood is a fine thing. It slows the wood down in taking on and giving up moisture, and slowing that traffic down is the whole battle with a handle. Thin coat, rubbed in by hand, wiped back off. Twice a year is plenty. Now hear this part, and it matters more than the rest of the video. A rag with linseed oil on it does not go into a ball in the trash can. Ever. An oily rag makes its own heat as it dries, and it can find its way to catching fire on its own, with nobody near it and nothing lit. Lay them out flat and single, outdoors, on concrete or over a wire rail until they are stiff and dry. Then they are safe to throw away. Every rag, every time, no exceptions on a busy day. That is the price of admission on oiling anything, and it is not negotiable. One more thing, because it is where most loose handles are born. A handle almost never loosens because you worked it hard. It loosens because it dried out. A garage that bakes all August and freezes all January is a hard place to keep a piece of hickory. It gives up moisture, then takes a little back, then gives up more, season after season, and it comes out a little smaller each time. That hammer hanging on your wall is a piece of furniture that gets hit. It wants the same steady, ordinary conditions the rest of your wooden things want. Off the concrete floor, out of the direct sun through the shop window, away from the heater. A tool kept in a reasonable place will hold its handle for decades without a single thing being asked of you. Now the honest part. And on this one, it is not about money, so I want you to hear it properly. If there is a crack in the handle, it is finished. Not tonight, not for one more job. A crack anywhere near the eye is exactly where a handle breaks. And when a handle breaks in the middle of a swing, the head goes somewhere. It goes at speed, and you have no say in where. If the eye of the head is worn oval or bell-mouthed, meaning the hole has spread wide at both ends from years of movement, no wedge will hold in that. That head needs a smith or it needs replacing. And I will tell you what the people who write the rules for job sites do about this, because it says something. They do not tell a man to be careful with a loose hammer. They forbid the tool entirely until it is fixed. That is not caution. That is a group of people who have seen what happens and decided the matter is closed. So put the loose one on the bench, not back on the wall where you will grab it in a hurry on Saturday. Fiberglass and steel-handled hammers are a different animal. Those heads are set with an epoxy at the factory. There is no wedge and no saw cut, and there is nothing for you to tighten. If one of those comes loose, the tool is done, or it goes back to the maker. And if the tool belonged to somebody, if it was your father's, or it came out of a barn with a name stamped in it, rehandle it and keep the old handle in a drawer. There is no shame in a new handle on an old head. The head is the tool. The handle was always a thing that gets replaced, and the fellow who first owned it knew that better than we do. Let us count it, though the money is the small part. A hickory handle is $10 or $15. A packet of wedges is a couple. A decent new hammer is $30 or $40, and a good one more. Now count the other way. 2 soaks a year for 5 years, and you have arrived at a handle that needs replacing anyway, only now the inside of the eye is rusted and the top of the handle is soft, and the tool you were trying to save is in worse condition than if you had left it alone entirely. That is the arithmetic on the money. The rest of the arithmetic is a hammerhead coming off in a downswing in a shop where somebody else is standing, and I am not going to dress that up for you. It is why this one is worth 20 minutes tonight, instead of another night with the bucket. I have been thinking, while putting this together, about how much of a tool is the joint. We say the hammer as though it were one object. It is not. It is a piece of steel and a piece of hickory, 2 materials that behave nothing alike, that swell and shrink at different rates and answer to the weather in different ways, held together at a joint about 1.5 inches long. Every bit of force your arm ever makes passes through that 1.5 inches. That is true of nearly everything worth keeping. The chair does not fail in the middle of the leg. The gate does not fail across the board. Houses do not fail in the middle of a wall. Things come apart where two different things were asked to live together, and the whole craft of keeping anything is paying attention at the joint, where nobody looks, because the parts either side of it are usually fine. The bucket was a good instinct aimed at the wrong thing. A man saw a loose joint and he wanted to fix it himself, that evening, with what he had at hand. I have no quarrel with any part of that. He was only $2 and 1 wedge away from being right. And tell me this below. What is a thing the old fellow who taught you swore by, that you found out later was not so? Every one of us has one. A way of sharpening, a way of storing, something your grandfather said about weather or wood or engines. I read every one of these, and those comments are the best schooling I get. Weeks ago we went through the checks to run on an old tool before you trust it. This is the one that comes loose after you have already trusted it, out in the middle of the work, when your hands are busy and your mind is on the nail. God keep you, friend. We will talk again.